The Silent Watchers. The chamber of the Galactic Tribunal stretched upward like a cathedral built for gods. Crystalline spires reached toward the domed ceiling where artificial stars twinkled in careful patterns. Representatives from 800 species filled the curved rows of seats, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. At the center platform stood High Arbiter Quellen, his 4 arms gesturing as he addressed the assembly with practiced authority. Dr. Marcus Chin sat in the observation gallery's furthest corner. His position was deliberate, chosen for its clear view and easy exit. For 73 sessions, he had occupied this same seat, watching the tribunal debate while conflicts burned across dozens of worlds. His gray suit was unremarkable, his features forgettable by design. To most delegates he was furniture, another minor species observer who would never matter in galactic affairs. Marcus's tablet displayed 3 separate feeds. The primary screen showed Quellen dismissing another emergency petition. The secondary feed tracked Zephron military movements across the frontier. The third screen contained a message he had written but not yet sent. His finger hovered over the transmission button, waiting for the right moment that might never come. "The petition from the Helion Concordance is denied," Quellen announced, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "The tribunal cannot intervene in what the Zephron Empire defines as territorial consolidation. We must respect sovereign boundaries and established expansion protocols." Marcus watched the Helion delegate collapse into her seat. Her people's 3 colony worlds had been reduced to radioactive dust 2 weeks earlier. 40 million dead. The Zephron claimed the worlds had been theirs by ancient right, a claim based on star charts nobody could verify and treaties nobody remembered signing. The tribunal had formed a committee to study the historical precedents. While they studied, the Helion people buried their children. This was the 19th genocide Marcus had documented since arriving at the tribunal. 19 times, desperate species had pleaded for intervention. 19 times, the tribunal had found reasons to look away. Procedural complications. Diplomatic considerations. Respect for sovereignty. The excuses changed but the result never did. The strong devoured the weak while the powerful debated proper vocabulary. Marcus added the Helion decision to his records. His database now contained detailed documentation of every tribunal failure, every ignored atrocity, every species abandoned to their fate. Earth Command had instructed him to observe and record, to understand how galactic civilization truly functioned before humanity revealed itself. The truth he had discovered was uglier than anyone had anticipated. The session ended with Quellen's traditional blessing for peace and prosperity. Delegates filed out, already discussing dinner arrangements and trade negotiations. The Helion delegate remained in her seat, staring at nothing, her world reduced to statistics in a committee report that would take 2 years to complete. Marcus descended from the gallery and made his way through corridors filled with the galaxy's elite. Species with fleets that could crack planets walked beside diplomats who commanded economies spanning star systems. They laughed and socialized, comfortable in their power, blind to their corruption. None of them noticed the human passing among them like a ghost. His private quarters were small but sufficient. Marcus sealed the door and activated security protocols that would have surprised anyone who believed humanity's technology was primitive. Electromagnetic barriers cut off all external surveillance. Quantum encryption locked his communications. Within seconds, his modest room became the most secure location in the entire tribunal complex. "Earth Command, this is Observer Chen," Marcus said quietly. "Priority transmission, encryption level Omega." The response came immediately. Admiral Catherine Reeves appeared on his screen, her silver hair pulled back, her uniform carrying the weight of authority earned through 5 decades of service. Behind her, Marcus could see the bridge of the EDS Avalanche, humanity's most advanced command ship, currently hidden in the dark space between stars. "Marcus, report," Catherine said without preamble. The tribunal denied the Helion petition. Quellen cited sovereignty concerns and proper channels. 40 million dead, and they formed another study committee. Marcus kept his voice level, but Catherine knew him well enough to hear the anger underneath. "That makes 19, Admiral. 19 genocides in 73 sessions." Catherine's jaw tightened. Command anticipated this pattern. "We needed confirmation that the tribunal's failures were systemic, not isolated incidents. Your documentation provides that confirmation." "There's more," Marcus continued. "Long-range reconnaissance detected Zephron fleet movements toward Sector 49 Delta. They're moving heavy warships into position near the junction point." Catherine leaned forward. "That's where we established Outpost Meridian." "Yes, Admiral." Our research station. 300 scientists and support staff. The Zephyron don't know it's ours yet, but their intelligence division is thorough. They'll identify it as human within the next 48 hours. And then they'll attack. Catherine's statement held no question. The Zephyron pattern was predictable. Identify a target, claim historical ownership, destroy anyone who objected. They had refined genocide into an industrial process. Marcus pulled up tactical displays showing the Zephyron fleet composition. Their task force includes 200 warships, battle cruisers, destroyers, carrier groups. It's the largest force they've assembled since the Hellion attack. Admiral Kress is commanding personally. Kress. Catherine's expression darkened. The Butcher of Six Worlds. They're not sending him for negotiations. No, Admiral. They're sending him to make an example. The Zephyron have been testing boundaries for years. Every time the tribunal fails to respond, they push further. A human outpost would be their boldest move yet, a statement that even the mysterious newcomers can be crushed without consequence. Catherine stood and moved out of frame. When she returned, she carried a data tablet displaying authorization codes Marcus recognized. Presidential override sequences. Military action protocols. The bureaucratic language that meant humanity's long patience was ending. Command has made a decision, Catherine said quietly. Operation Daybreak is authorized. We've been watching for 80 years, Marcus. Watching the galaxy tear itself apart while we stayed hidden, hoping they would be better than our history suggested. They're not better. They're worse because they have the power to stop this and choose not to. Marcus felt his heart rate increase. 80 years. 3 generations of humanity developing in isolation while the galaxy remained ignorant of their existence. When the Galactic Tribunal had first discovered Earth, they had found a species barely exploring their own solar system. What they hadn't discovered were the hidden shipyards in the Oort cloud, the weapons development facilities on Titan, the military academies training officers for a war nobody knew was coming. Humanity had learned patience from watching empires fall throughout their bloody history. They had learned deception from countless conflicts where survival demanded invisibility. And they had learned that sometimes, the only way to stop monsters was to become something more terrifying than the monsters themselves. What are your orders, Admiral? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. The Third Fleet will decloak at Outpost Meridian when the Zephyron arrive. We will defend our people. We will demonstrate what humanity actually is. Catherine's eyes held no mercy. And you, Marcus, will be our voice at the tribunal. When they demand explanations, you'll give them the truth they've been too comfortable to see. They won't accept it peacefully. I don't care if they accept it. I care that they understand it. Catherine's voice dropped to something colder than steel. For 80 years we've documented their failures. For 80 years we've counted their dead. Now they'll learn what happens when patient people stop being patient. Marcus looked at his tablet where the unsent message still waited. He deleted it and began composing a new one. This message would be his final report as an anonymous observer. His next communication would introduce the Galactic Tribunal to humanity's actual capabilities, delivered while their comfortable certainties burned. Admiral, the Zephyron fleet will reach Meridian in 36 hours. The Third Fleet is already in position, cloaked and waiting. Admiral Okonkwo has command of the battle group. 600 ships, Marcus. The Zephyron think they're bringing overwhelming force. They're about to learn what that phrase actually means. The transmission ended. Marcus sat in silence, feeling the weight of what was coming. Tomorrow the Zephyron would attack Outpost Meridian expecting easy prey. Tomorrow 600 human warships would decloak, revealing technology the galaxy didn't know existed. Tomorrow the comfortable lies would die, and the galaxy would finally meet humanity as they truly were. Not victims. Not primitives. Not minor species content to watch from corners while others suffered. Humanity had spent 80 years in the shadows by choice, not necessity. They had hidden not from fear but from calculation, waiting to understand what they faced before revealing their hand. The Zephyron had just forced humanity's reveal. The Galactic Tribunal would learn that the quiet observer in the corner had been counting every failure, documenting every atrocity, preparing for the moment when patience ended and justice began. Marcus stood and began packing his minimal belongings. After tomorrow he would need to relocate to more secure quarters. After tomorrow being humanity's representative would mean something very different. After tomorrow, the galaxy would understand that Earth's silence had never been weakness. It had been a warning they were too arrogant to hear. The revelation. Admiral Kress stood on the command deck of the Zephyron flagship Eternal Dominance, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 200 warships surrounded him in perfect formation, their weapons primed and shields at maximum. Ahead lay a small research station orbiting an unremarkable moon in what the Zephyron now claimed as ancestral territory. The station's identifying markers showed it belonged to humanity, that curious species the tribunal had discovered barely a century ago. Kress had researched these humans extensively. They were newcomers, weak, possessed of barely functional fusion drives and primitive weapons systems. Their largest vessels were exploration ships, scientific platforms designed for research rather than warfare. The galaxy had largely ignored them, and the humans had seemed content with their obscurity. They attended tribunal sessions but never spoke. They observed but never participated. Perfect victims. Status report, Kress commanded, his three-fingered hands gripping the railing before him. Outpost Meridian shows minimal defensive capabilities, Admiral, his tactical officer reported with barely concealed excitement. We detect standard shields, some point defense systems, nothing that could threaten even our smallest destroyer. The station houses approximately 300 personnel. Civilian scientists mostly. Kress allowed himself a predatory smile. His scales rippled with anticipation. This would be his 7th world brought under Zephyron control, his 7th demonstration that the Tribunal's weakness enabled the strong to take what they deserved. The humans would serve as another example. Attack their outpost, crush their feeble defenses, and the galaxy would learn that not even the mysterious newcomers were beyond Zephyron reach. Open a channel to the station, Kress ordered. His communications officer activated the transmission. Channel open, Admiral. Human Station Outpost Meridian, this is Admiral Kress of the Zephyron Imperial Fleet. You occupy territory claimed by ancient Zephyron right. You have 30 minutes to surrender your facility and personnel for processing. Resistance will result in the station's complete destruction. You cannot win. You can only choose how you die. Silence answered him for several long seconds. Then a voice responded, female, carrying an accent Kress didn't recognize. The tone was conversational, almost friendly. Admiral Kress, this is Station Commander Dr. Sarah Martinez. I appreciate the warning, though I'm afraid we'll have to decline your generous offer. This station was established in neutral space under recognized colonization protocols. We're not going anywhere. I'd suggest you reconsider your approach before you make a mistake you can't take back. The command deck erupted in laughter. Kress's officers couldn't contain their amusement. A human scientist, surrounded by 200 warships, was giving them advice. The arrogance was almost admirable. Commander Martinez, Kress said slowly, savoring each word. Do you understand your situation? You have one small station and perhaps a handful of defensive weapons. I have 200 warships capable of reducing your facility to atoms. This is not a negotiation. This is mercy. 30 minutes. Use them wisely. Admiral, I understand perfectly, Martinez replied. You have 200 ships. You believe that makes you powerful. You've attacked 17 species in the last decade because the tribunal won't stop you. You think humans will be number 18. But you're wrong about something important. And what would that be? Kress asked, already bored with the conversation. You think you can see all my pieces on the board? You can't. The transmission ended. Kress stared at the display, irritation replacing amusement. The human's confidence was either stupidity or insanity. Either way, she would learn the cost of defying Zephyron power. Weapons systems, target the station's power core. Prepare to fire on my command. Admiral. His sensor officer's voice cracked with sudden alarm. I'm detecting spatial distortions. Multiple points around the fleet. Readings are inconsistent with natural phenomena. Explain, Kress snapped, turning from the view screen. I can't, Admiral. It's like space itself is bending in specific locations. The distortions are in a spherical pattern completely surrounding our formation. Whatever is causing this, it's massive and it's everywhere. Kress felt his first tremor of unease. Scan for cloaked vessels. Scanning now, Admiral. I'm not detecting anything. Whatever this is, it's beyond our sensor capabilities to identify. The tactical display began updating. Kress watched as red warning indicators appeared across the three-dimensional map. One indicator. Then 5. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Each marker represented something his sensors couldn't fully identify but knew was there, objects displacing space-time in ways that shouldn't be possible. Sir, the sensor officer whispered. Contact count is at 400 and increasing. Whatever these are, they're big. Each one is reading larger than our flagship. The view screen changed without warning. Where empty space had existed moments before, ships now appeared. Not gradually, not with the shimmer of traditional cloaking technology, but instantly, as if they had simply decided to become visible. Sleek vessels of dark metal hung in the void, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They dwarfed Cress's flagship. Each one was a predator designed by minds that understood warfare on levels the Zephyron had never imagined. "Count," Cress demanded, his voice barely steady. 600 ships, Admiral. All human. All identical. All targeting us. 600. The number echoed in Cress's mind. He had brought overwhelming force. The humans had brought 3 times that number, and they had been there all along, invisible, watching, waiting for the Zephyron to make their move. A new transmission cut through every channel on every ship in the Zephyron fleet. The voice was male, calm, carrying the absolute authority of someone who held all the advantages and knew it. "Zephyron Fleet, this is Admiral James Okonkwo, commander of the 3rd Terran Defense Fleet. You have entered human-protected space with hostile intent. You have threatened civilian personnel. You have 45 seconds to power down all weapons systems and prepare to be escorted from this sector. Failure to comply will be interpreted as continued aggression. Choose carefully." Cress found his voice. "This is a trick. Holographic projections. Humans don't have this technology." 30 seconds, Okonkwo replied, ignoring the accusation. "All ships, battle stations." Cress roared. "Target those vessels and fire. Show these primitives what Zephyron power means." 200 Zephyron warships opened fire simultaneously. Enough weapons to crack planets, enough firepower to reduce fleets to debris. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic projectiles, everything the Zephyron military had perfected over centuries of conquest. The attack lit up space like a newborn star. The human ships didn't move, didn't evade, didn't even seem to notice. Every shot, every missile, every weapon simply stopped meters from the human hulls, absorbed by shields that made the laws of physics seem like polite suggestions rather than absolute rules. "Impossible," Cress breathed. "Nothing can withstand that much firepower." "Admiral Cress," Okonkwo's voice was colder now. "You were warned. You chose violence. Now you learn the consequences." The human ships moved. Not with the thunder of conventional drives but with the precision of surgical instruments. They didn't spread out to engage. They simply existed where they needed to be, surrounding the Zephyron fleet in a sphere of overwhelming technological superiority. "Engaging," Okonkwo said simply. The human vessels didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, each ship emitted a pulse of brilliant blue energy that washed across the Zephyron formation like a wave of liquid light. Cress watched the pulse approach his flagship, tried to order evasive maneuvers, but his voice wouldn't work. His body wouldn't respond. Time seemed to slow as the blue light touched his ship. Every system died. Weapons, engines, shields, navigation, communications. The lights went dark. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the command deck in red emergency lighting. Around him, his officers sat frozen in shock as their instruments went dead one by one. "Damage report," Cress whispered into the silence. "All primary systems offline, Admiral. Weapons non-responsive. Engines dead. Shields collapsed. We're dead in space." His tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, life support is running on emergency batteries. We have approximately 6 hours before air recycling fails." The fleet? Same status across all ships. 200 vessels completely disabled. No casualties detected, but we're helpless. Cress stared at the view screen running on emergency power. The human ships hung there, untouched, unmoving, terrifying in their casual demonstration of absolute superiority. They hadn't destroyed the Zephyron fleet. They had simply turned it off like a parent taking toys from misbehaving children. Admiral Okonkwo's face appeared on the screen. He was human, dark-skinned, his hair gray at the temples, his eyes carrying the weight of someone who had seen too much and found it wanting. He looked directly at Cress with an expression that held no triumph, only cold assessment. "Admiral Cress, your fleet is disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. Life support will last approximately 6 hours. A rescue fleet will arrive in 4 hours to tow your vessels back to Zephyron space." Okonkwo leaned forward slightly. "This is the only mercy you will receive. Return to your territory. Tell your government what happened here. Tell them that humanity is done watching. Tell them that the next species to threaten civilians under our protection won't go home at all." The transmission ended. Cress collapsed into his command chair, his scales trembling. In less than 3 minutes, the pride of the Zephyron military had been reduced to floating debris, helpless and humiliated. Not destroyed, which would have at least preserved some dignity, but disabled and sent home like criminals caught in the act. Hours later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Tribunal, emergency session alarms echoed through the crystalline spires. Delegates rushed to their seats, confusion evident in their movements. The holographic displays showed footage that seemed impossible, human warships appearing from nowhere, Zephron vessels disabled in moments, technology that shouldn't exist. High Arbiter Quellen stood at the central platform, his 4 arms raised for silence. This session will come to order. We face an unprecedented situation. The human observer has requested to address the tribunal. Given the circumstances, I grant this request. Dr. Marcus Chen walked to the center floor. For 73 sessions he had sat silently in the corner. Now every eye in the massive chamber tracked his movement. He carried no notes, no data tablets. He didn't need them. Members of the Galactic Tribunal, Marcus began, his voice carrying clearly through the acoustically perfect chamber. For 80 years, humanity has observed your civilization. We were discovered by your scouts when we were barely exploring our own solar system. You catalogued us as a minor species, technologically primitive, politically insignificant. You were correct that we were new to space. You were catastrophically wrong about everything else. Quellen interrupted. Representative Chin, you have hidden military capabilities in violation of tribunal protocols. You have deployed warships without authorization. You have attacked a member species. These actions demand explanation and will face consequences. Marcus smiled, and delegates who saw that expression felt sudden fear. It was the smile of someone who had stopped pretending. Consequences, Marcus repeated. Let's discuss consequences. For 80 years I've documented tribunal failures. 19 genocides in the time I personally observed. Hundreds more in your historical records. 40 million Hellion dead 2 weeks ago while you formed study committees. The Zephron have killed over 200 million beings in the last decade alone while you debated sovereignty in proper channels. Those were complex situations requiring diplomatic nuance, Quellen protested, but his voice lacked conviction. They were massacres requiring intervention, Marcus corrected. But intervention was uncomfortable. It would disrupt trade. It would offend powerful species. It would require actually standing for something beyond your own comfort. So you let them die. All of them. While you enjoyed your dinners and negotiated your treaties. The chamber erupted in protests. Marcus waited for silence, then continued. Admiral Kress brought 200 warships to destroy a human research station. He intended to murder 300 civilians to prove that even humanity could be crushed without consequence. He was following a pattern you've allowed to flourish. The strong prey on the weak because the powerful refuse to intervene. What you revealed today changes everything, Delegate Morvis from the Kalrathi Concordance spoke up. Your technology is beyond anything in our databases. Your fleet appeared from nowhere. How long have you possessed these capabilities? Since before your scouts found Earth, Marcus answered. We developed them in secret, in hidden facilities your sensors couldn't detect. We've been watching you for 8 decades, learning who you really are when you think nobody important is looking. This is an outrage. Quellen's scales flushed deep purple. You've been spying on the entire galaxy. Operating covert military programs. Violating every principle of galactic cooperation. Marcus's expression hardened. We violated nothing. We never signed your treaties. We never agreed to your jurisdiction. We've been observers exactly as our status indicated. We observed that your principles are convenient lies you tell yourselves while species burn. What do you want? The question came from Delegate Sorinth of the Vax Coalition, one of the few species who had consistently voted for intervention in the past. We want what you failed to provide. Protection for those who cannot protect themselves. Justice for those you abandoned. An end to the genocides you've permitted through inaction. Marcus gestured to the holographic displays still showing human warships. The Third Fleet at Outpost Meridian was one battle group. We have 12 others positioned throughout the galaxy, all cloaked, all watching. Humanity is done being observers. We're assuming responsibility you've abdicated. You're declaring war on the entire tribunal? Quellen's voice shook. No. We're declaring protection for anyone the tribunal fails. Any species facing genocide can appeal to humanity. We will respond. We will intervene. We will do what you should have been doing all along. Marcus's voice dropped to something colder. And any species that attacks civilians under our protection will learn what Admiral Kress learned today. We won't destroy you. We'll disable you, humiliate you, and send you home to explain your failure. This is tyranny dressed as protection. Quellan protested. No, High Arbiter. Tyranny is having the power to stop genocide and choosing not to because it's politically inconvenient. Tyranny is letting 40 million Hellion die while you debate proper vocabulary. Tyranny is this tribunal. Marcus turned to address the entire chamber. Humanity doesn't seek to rule you. We seek to shame you into becoming what you claim to be. Until then, we'll do your job for you. The chamber dissolved into chaos. Delegates shouted accusations and denials. Others demanded humanity's expulsion. A few, like Sorinth, sat in thoughtful silence, recognizing uncomfortable truths. Marcus walked out of the chamber without being dismissed. Behind him, the Galactic Tribunal faced its first existential crisis in 1,000 years. Their comfortable certainties had shattered. Their convenient inaction had been exposed. Their authority had been challenged by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. In orbit around Outpost Meridian, the Third Fleet maintained position. 600 warships surrounding the disabled Zephyron vessels like shepherds guarding against wolves. Dr. Martinez watched from the station as human rescue ships arrived precisely on schedule, towing the humiliated Zephyron fleet back toward their territory. "Commander," her communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving messages from 37 different species requesting protection agreements with humanity. Their species the Tribunal has repeatedly failed to defend." Sarah nodded. "Forward them to Earth Command. We made a promise today. Now we have to keep it." Across the galaxy, humanity's 12 battle fleets decloaked simultaneously. They appeared above worlds that had been abandoned, in systems where genocide had been ignored, near species that lived in terror of stronger neighbors. Each fleet transmitted the same message in every known language. This world is under human protection. Any act of aggression against these people will be met with immediate intervention. The age of comfortable inaction has ended. The age of accountability has begun. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had spent 80 years learning patience, developing weapons and documenting failures. Now they were done learning. Done watching. Done waiting for someone else to do what needed doing. The Zephyron Empire learned first, but they wouldn't be the last. Every species that had grown comfortable with their power, secure in the knowledge that the Tribunal would never act, now faced a new reality. Humanity wasn't bound by diplomatic protocols or political convenience. They were bound by something the galaxy had forgotten. Conscience. Backed by the firepower to enforce it. High Arbiter Quellan sat alone in his chambers long after the emergency session ended. On his desk lay Marcus Chen's complete documentation. 80 years of failures recorded in meticulous detail. 19 genocides. 237 million dead. Countless pleas ignored. All of it carefully catalogued by a species the Tribunal had dismissed as irrelevant. Quellan finally understood. Humanity hadn't revealed themselves today. They had revealed the Tribunal for what it truly was. A comfortable lie maintained by those who benefited from order without justice, peace without protection, civilization without conscience. The human ships hanging in orbit around dozens of worlds weren't invaders. They were mirrors reflecting back the galaxy's most shameful truth. When the powerful refuse to protect the vulnerable, someone else will. And they won't ask permission. The age of galactic complacency was over. Humanity had ended it not with declarations or diplomacy, but with 600 warships and a simple promise. Never again. The galaxy would learn to live with that promise or it would learn to fear it. Either way, the lesson had begun.